Welcome to the training overview for the new ethics ordinance for Wichita City officials, both elected and appointed. My name is Kathy Sexton. I am serving as the ethics officer to provide information and education about this ordinance and about how it applies to both the elected officials at the city, mayor and city council, as well as appointed volunteers to city boards and commissions. This does not apply to city employees. There is a different ethics policy in the human resources manual that applies to employees. The ethics board is set up by the ordinance and does include their primary role of enforcing the code of ethics, meaning that when complaints are filed against one of you, an elected or appointed official, then that board of 7 people as volunteers, they make the decisions. I, as an ethics officer, prepare the investigations for the board and facilitate meetings of the board, as well as provide information to you and to the public in responding to your inquiries, and certainly advising the city on how the code of ethics is to be interpreted and enforced. Training includes providing the code of ethics, the ordinance, to you all. I'm not standing here with a piece of paper, but you have links that you can easily find it online, save it as a PDF on your device, and or print it so that you always have it available with your board materials and can refer to it as needed. I also want to just mention there's other training for elected and appointed officials online provided by the City of Wichita, and primarily that is information about COMA and CORA, the Kansas Open Records Act, Kansas Open Meetings Act, and that includes conflict of interest information that the City Attorney Jennifer Magana has provided, and also both of our email addresses are here at the bottom of this slide. The Ethics Board webpage is available to you at this QR code and this address, and includes all kinds of information, including these training materials, but also information such as the complaints that have been filed and adjudicated by the board. The board's reports are posted online. We will review the highlights of the actual code of ethics, which is section 3 of the ordinance. This is a big part of the ordinance, so we'll take several slides to go over items A through R, all of which are directions to you regarding ethics. Starting with A, be dedicated to honor and integrity. These are ideals that you need to have in mind in all your personal and professional relationships, given the gravity of your responsibilities as a city official. Section B, conduct yourself so as to maintain public confidence. That's not just confidence in you, but it's also confidence in the board that you serve on and in the city overall. Section C is use time wisely so that the people can see the value of their tax dollars spent. For example, this is your own time, this is your board or committee's time, and it's also the time of the staff to make sure that we're not chasing squirrels, but we are using time wisely and productively. Section D, seek no favors or private gain. Do not use the following to secure a profit or to enhance your own wealth or that of your family. 1, confidential information that you have been given access to because of your position at the city. 2, information available to you before the city makes it available to the general public. So it's going to become public information, but it's not out there yet. You've been given a heads up, so to speak, and so do not violate that trust by putting it out there before the city is ready for that. And 3, government equipment and supplies. So any information, equipment, supplies, anything the city provides for your use as a city official should not be used for your job, your side gig, your church, your nonprofit, or your campaign, etc. On the Code of Ethics, next 2 sections, Section E, ensure that city expenditures are in the interest of the city. So refrain from any unreasonable benefiting of specific individuals or groups at the expense of the city of the whole as you make decisions regarding city issues. Section F is avoid conflicts of interest. Literally, do not participate in decisions or transactions in which you, your relatives, or your business entity have an interest. So that's more than just don't vote. It's also don't participate in the debate and the conversation. Just excuse yourself from the room in those. But certainly, if you run into something that was unexpected and involvement cannot be avoided, make sure you disclose your association at that time. We're going to talk more about relatives during this session. Section G, serve constituents with equity, not granting special favors or discriminating. You have a duty to vote on every item that comes before your board that you're serving on, unless you have declared a conflict of interest. So you need to be clear about what a conflict is. You need to watch that video that the city attorney provided that talks about conflicts of interest. And you need to disclose your interest to your board chair or the staff person associated with your board so that proper steps can be taken to ensure that you do not vote on something that you have a conflict with, for example, or participate in that discussion. Section H, cooperate fully with the city officials and the employees. Do not request any kind of exception to a proper process. For example, like fixing a traffic ticket or something like that. Section I, do not assist or represent the private interest of another before any commission or board. So you might serve on the planning commission, for example, but you have an issue come up with the animal control, the animal advisory board, for example. Well, if it's your issue or your property, that's fine. You're representing yourself, and you can do that with another board. But you do not want to represent the views of the interests of someone else. So not your neighborhood association, not your neighbor, not your friend's business or anything like that. No private parties. You cannot say, I'm on city council and I'm going to go represent someone else before a city board or the city council itself. Item J, file your annual report with the city clerk if you have taken on any gifts valued at $50 or more. Now, if the gift has been approved by the city council, that's different. You do not need to put that on your report because that's been authorized. Item K, take reasonable steps to inform your relatives about the implications of accepting a gift from someone with an interest in the city. So again, big section of this code is about relatives. Huge part is on section L we're about to talk about, but K specifically requires you to tell your relatives about this ordinance and how it applies to them. Section L, avoid the appearance of improper influence. This section is all about not accepting gifts that are valued over $150. Now, this is from a specific donor over a calendar year. So maybe it's not one thing that is $150, but maybe you've gone to lunch a couple times with the same person or the same business interest. You have to add those up, and that cannot equal over 150. And if it's over 50, you need to put it on your report. Remember that we just talked about. But you cannot accept it if it's over 150. If it's two $75 tickets to the ball game for you and your spouse, well, 150 is the limit. So it's okay to receive something that is 150 or less. It cannot be over. It's okay to take like a plaque or an award or an honor that you or your relative has been given, so long as it is $150 value or less. And then again, the city council can approve a gift if it's not authorized by the ordinance. And if you have questions, just let me know and we can work through that. Now, this is just for elected officials. There's one section of the ordinance regarding gifts that applies only to the elected officials. Now, if your presence is requested at an event or a meeting sponsored by one of the groups listed on this slide, then it's okay for you and your relatives to accept complimentary admission and food while you're attending that event or that meeting, only if you're requested. So it's not just any nonprofit fundraiser you want to go to, for example. It needs to be something where you were asked to attend. Maybe you're given the opening comments. Maybe you're cutting the ribbon. Maybe you're being honored. Maybe they're making a pitch to you and you're their elected official, whatever. If it's one of these groups listed, that is okay. Now, back to the gift provisions that apply to all of you all, the appointed and elected officials. Inform the city clerk within 7 business days of receipt of any unauthorized gift. That way, no one thinks you're trying to hide anything because you've said, hey, city clerk, somebody sent me this gift in the mail. What am I supposed to do? So if you're keeping that, you put it on your report if it's valued over 50. If it's under $50 of value, it's a koozie, it's a pen, it's some small token, a mug, coffee mug, that kind of thing. Under $50, it's fine if you're going to keep it. Then if it's over 50, put it on your report. You want to inform your relatives about this because these gift provisions apply to them too. Someone cannot get around the ordinance by giving a gift to your spouse when really they mean it for you, or it could be seen as trying to influence you. So your relatives need to be aware of this. If you decide, hey, I don't want this gift, I want to get it away from me, I don't want to take it, then you have options. You can either return the gifts that are not authorized by the code, or you can give them to the city clerk. And then the city could use that gift for its own benefit, or sell it, and deposit the proceeds. So in other words, if you did something on behalf of the city, the gift should be given to the city, not to you personally. Section M of the Code of Ethics: do not make any promise that would require action beyond the scope of your authority. N, never use confidential information to benefit you or your relatives. And O, use city equipment and resources only for official duties. Prohibit hiring your relatives in any department in which you have direct policy-making or advisory role. Again, great time to go back and read the definition of relatives and know that if you're on a board, that's a pretty small role compared to, there's a lot of departments that your relatives could go work for if you're only on a board that applies to one department. For example, if you're on city council, you have policy-making responsibilities over pretty much every department. So you don't want to have hiring of relatives happening. Q, do not interfere with or express an interest in the city's hiring process. This might look like something like, I know John. John worked on my campaign. He did a good job. So you're giving a reference for someone who's trying to get a job with the city based on your experience with that. Well, that's interfering in the hiring process. That's expressing an interest in the hiring process. So, and the final section R, remain impartial when conducting city business. And again, I want to reiterate, the highlights I've just gone over in these last multiple slides are just the highlights. It is not word for word verbatim. You need to read the entire Code of Ethics sections A through R in section 3 of the ordinance and be familiar with it. Elected officials, this slide is just for you. Your appointment to the ethics board. Be very careful. There's a big section, like a whole page of this ordinance, that applies to listing out the 9 requirements that apply to the people that you would put up to be appointed to the ethics board. Read the code carefully, ensure the people that you're looking at have read it, and ensure that they tell you, yes, I meet all these 9 requirements. Make sure that they meet them, and then request the background check after they've assured you that they meet all these requirements. These qualifications for this board differ from every other city board, and just a couple of them, not all of them, but a couple, are that they cannot be an elected official or a candidate for office in any capacity at all. And they also cannot have been substantially involved with a current or the most recent campaign for Wichita City Council or mayor. They can work on the governor's campaign or the president's campaign, something else, but not any Wichita City officials. Now, city employees, again, take a look at your HR policy manual for the ethics policy that applies to you and your colleagues. The things listed here are not applicable for you. The last section of last couple sections of the ordinance are about retaliation and whistleblowers. If you are in the unfortunate position of having someone file a complaint against you as an elected official or an appointed official, that's going to feel bad. You're going to feel awful. You're going to want this resolved as soon as possible. You're going to be offended. You're going to be scared, and that's okay. But what you need to make sure you do is wait for the investigation to occur. It will take weeks to get all sides of the issue and get the ethics board briefed and make a decision. That will take time. You have to make sure you do not do anything during that time or after the complaint is adjudicated that could be considered intimidation or coercion or discrimination or any kind of retaliation against someone who filed the complaint, someone who reported a violation of the code of ethics, someone who gave testimony as a witness, any of that. Just so my advice is do not even talk to any person involved in the issue. Or now, who to contact? It's very important that you know that I am available to you as elected and appointed officials, and certainly key staff who work with these folks who are trying to make good interpretations of the code. So feel free to email me at any time. Again, this QR code takes you back to the ethics board. Thank you.